Here we go. Hi, Stacey. How are you?
Hey, good. How are you doing?
Good. I'm so thankful that you were able to come on tonight. I really appreciate it. After we were on the Show Me the Money call together, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to get her on Zoom.
You're so sweet. I'm honored to be on with y'all.
Yes. Okay. So I'm just going to ask you to jump right in. I know it's typical, but I kind of want you to share your story. I really want you to kind of paint a picture of your life before. I think it's awesome, like everybody's success and all that stuff. But I really think that sometimes I've told my girls before that I think the longer that I'm in and the more that I promote, the more unrelatable I become, if that makes sense, because it just feels so far away. And I remember hopping in and looking at people that I was like, dang, they're like on another level. It's like those bloggers that have 700 million followers and stuff. Sometimes that's how it can feel with, ambassadors and people who have been in the business. When I joined, it was like 4.5 years. 4 years was so long to be in. They felt like grandmas. And now here I am like, no, I'm young. So if you would just kind of tell us what your life looked like before this business and what attracted you to it.
Yeah, sure. So kind of a little bit of history about me. I'm actually Canadian, became a snowbird and went to high school in Arizona. Decided to go to ministry training school, and that's where I met my husband, who's a Texan. So if you know anything about Texans, they're going to end up back in Texas because they love it so much. And so I knew it was pretty inevitable that we would be back here. And we actually moved here to help plant a church. So Joey was the executive pastor at the church that we were planting. And to be totally honest, it didn't go well. And so we went through a stage in life where Joey became a Starbucks barista and I was a preschool teacher. And, Starbucks and Jesus paid our bills. I don't know what else to say, but that's what happened that way. And from there, we got hired on staff at a church and Joey got promoted and I was able to take a break. And I really needed that break. I was like, life has felt a little bit like I took a few knocks and I can stay home and I will take that. But so I stayed home for a year and I was like, okay, all I can do is stay home. I'm like, we can eat and sleep in this house, but girls, you can't do an event. Like you can't be, we're not doing a dance thing. We're not, we're just, we can be happy in our home. And so right before It Works was presented to me, I got hired at my girls' school. So I was excited to have the same schedule.
Right, he was only showing up so that he could keep his streak going.
Sorry, go ahead. I'm not unmute you. Okay, there you go.
No problem. It happens all the time without fail. And so I wanted to be on my girls' schedule. Both my parents were teachers and were home with me a lot. And that's one of the things I missed. I wanted to raise them. And so I got hired at the school in May. So 5 years ago this May. And my parents always gave me birthday money. And literally I had $100 in an envelope that I was saving that I got for my birthday money. And I'm like, I'm going to buy me some cute boots that are comfortable too, that I can walk around the school hallways in. I'm like, Target is not going to work this time for these kind of boots. I need good ones. So I'm saving them for fall when, the good ones that will look cute will come out. And so fast forward to June, I'm at youth. My husband is a children's pastor. And so we were at kids camp and my phone started blowing up. And if y'all know my sister-in-law, Sherry Lynn Acala, she is a fireball. And when she has something she wants you to do, she is not going to give up. And so my phone started blowing up and I'm like, what does she want me to do now? Like, oh boy. She's like, I don't know, these wraps, these stomachs, and I couldn't, my phone kept cutting out as I was listening to her messages and stuff. I'm like, I don't know what she wants me to do, but I don't know who she thinks I am. I am not going to be good at this. And then I would kind of hop on Facebook and I'm like, see her before and after belly pictures. And I'm like, can you unfriend your sister-in-law and that still go well, like at Thanksgiving? Because I'm like, I don't really know what to do with this. So literally for 3 weeks straight, Sherry pretty much presented this business to me every day for 3 weeks straight. She was pretty determined that I was going to do it with her. And I'm like, she wore me down good. And, she kind of was like, Stacey, let's just try. If we're not making money in a year, we'll quit. And so that got me. You know, I'm not somebody to sign up and not do anything. So she knew that about me, if that makes sense. But I was like, okay, there can't be any harm in it. Joy was like, hey, you know, just try. Better a oopsie than a what if, basically was what he was saying. And so I went and got my envelope of my $100 because it was $99 to join. And so I gave up my boots to buy a business. And that seemed like a really big deal, you know, but everybody talks about, you know, if you do the first step in the steps to success, you've done the hardest step there is in the business. And I can attest to that because that felt like, you know, like we don't have money from anywhere else, you know, but I'm really glad I didn't get boots. I'm really glad I bought a business. So that was kind of getting in. And then, you know, I just kind of started posting on social media. When I joined, there was a bonus that if you went diamond in 3 calendar months, you earned a $10,000 bonus. And so we just kind of plugged along. We live an hour apart from each other, Sherry and I, but I used to live where they lived. So I would drive up there we'd have weekly wrap parties at her house. We'd post on social media. You know, we still have them, but Facebook parties. And so I just kind of started sharing the opportunity, scared out of my mind, scared what people would think, scared what they would say, scared what they would say behind my back. All that stuff just always was going through my mind all the time. And that's one of the reasons I really feel the Lord gave me this business, because of the freedom I've experienced because of just doing things scared. But Sherry went diamond in September, and I went diamond on Halloween, October 31st. And then we kept doing it. And I was still the receptionist at the girls' school. I couldn't be on my phone during school hours. And at lunchtime, we had no service at the school where I was at. So pretty much, and my girls were of age to start activities. So I would get home. But what I really focused on was putting 30 minutes to an hour every day into my business. You know, I would try to get a post up before I went to work, you know, and just try to think about asking people. Knew I was going to probably be told no. I mean, I would ask scared. Like, I did a lot of things scared. Like, hey, you probably don't want to do this, but I do think you'd be amazing. Like, how did I ask people that way? But I totally did. And then we went to conference. So the first conference I went to, I was like, what are we doing? Like, am I a Tupperware person? Like, when I saw the people in the first elevator all in like black, green, and bling, I'm like, what are we doing, Sherry? Because I could totally see her being successful. And that's what I wanted to help. I am a yellow. If you guys have studied those personalities, that is more of my thing. So I'm like, I'm going to help, and Sherry's going to be awesome. And I don't really know what this business is going to do for me. But the first conference I went to, when a girl got up there and was like, I can barely throw a cat out my front door and not hit a family member. And she was ambassador. I was like, maybe I could do this. Like, maybe there's like a glimpse of hope for me. Okay. So, just a little bit of seeing everybody's story and realizing it's not a cookie cutter person that's successful in the business. Really, it's just anybody who has grit and lasting grit. So I went double diamond after that first conference. And one of the things I wasn't doing a lot in my business was adding more people to my market. I had a pretty big warm market to me. So I will tell you that we just did through ministry and, you know, our ministry training school and growing up in different places. So for a whole year, it took me to go diamond triple diamond from that diamond, double diamond. And it was I was just building. I was like, okay, I just put another DT there. Okay, another DT. I was like, when the old charts were how they were, you know, that's when I brought Joey into the business. So pretty much not one person on his diamond chart signed another DT. That's kind of how that year went. I was like, oh, this is going to be fun. You know? So that was triple diamond. And then 4 months later, no, not even. I went triple diamond in February, and I went presidential in June. So that was a fast jump which was a great jump. I appreciated that. So that was 2016. And then, you know, then it was just interesting in the business, honestly. Like, I don't know how much you want of this stuff, but like, diamonds left my team. Good friends left my team. And I was like, this is hard. Like, this is not for the faint of heart to just keep showing up. It's not that what I was doing was hard. It was like continuing to do it that was hard, you know? And there's just sometimes that life's like that, right? Like, sometimes it's hard to show up every day in your marriage. Sometimes it's hard to show up every day as a parent. Just one of those things that you do when you feel like it and when you don't. And I was like, nah, and this is really being tested, you know? So I was like, okay, there's going to be this big boom. Like, it's okay. We'll get through that fall season. And there's going to be this big boom come, you know, January. And the big boom kind of came and left, and not a lot changed in my business. And I'm like, okay, I'm just going to keep, I mean, there's people who've said, you just stick with it. You just stick with it. And I really just tried to hold on to that. And I mean, and a lot of times I just really doubted it, but I'm like, I'm just going to keep trying to show up, even when it's hard, even when it feels like I'm all alone. I'm like, yep, I'm a triple presidential diamond, but I still felt all alone in the business, to keep going for it. And so that was a lot of that. The last year and a half has been a decision to just keep showing up no matter what. And as the people whose God has brought into my organization has kept showing up with me and started to show up, that's when things really started taking off. And I remember Cammie saying this 18 months ago, will almost be 20 months ago now. She's like, you're going to reap the most of your business 18 months from now. And I think that's something I kept holding on to. I'm like, I'm working, so I don't want to not be here when I'm going to reap the most of those benefits, you know? And so I'm going to, that was a lot of it. I'm like, I can't, somebody else is not going to get my harvest that I'm working for, or that I'm working for my team. I'm definitely more motivated about the people. And I think that was one of the harder things when, like, your team's trying to go somewhere and they're not getting it. And you're trying to tell them, keep going, hold on, it's going to happen, you know, and you face that doubt. And so, I mean, we just started going for it. We started waking up early before our days. We all were moms, so we did early morning power hours for 30 minutes so we could go about our day and not feel guilty. You know, put in the work, be up with the kids, be present with the kids, and then follow up on all the things you've got rolling in the morning. You know, you can just come back to it. There's no it works emergency, you know, had to kind of learn that, but also learn we're going to do these 5 things every day. And that's what I prayed. I prayed, God, does it take a certain person? Like, I know I could go back to conference and go, it doesn't take a certain person, but it feels like it takes a certain person. But if you're really telling me that all I have to do is show up every day and it can happen, I can be that person. I can do that. You know, I can do the things that I'm in control of and do them on a consistent basis. And that's how we got here. So I'm like, wow, it's no great thing about me. It was just kept showing up every day.
Yeah. And I think that the thing is even though you say it's no great thing about you, like, that's a quality that a lot of people don't have, you know? And I think it's hard to put into words, you know, like, yeah, I just kept showing up. It sounds so easy, but the reality of it is so much different. You know, when you go through the battle, is this going to be worth it? You know, can I really be successful? You know, can this really be me? But one of the things that I think is super important that you kept holding on to is the fact that you always had that vision of, like, even if you questioned it sometimes, even if it got cloudy sometimes, you know, even if it wasn't always super clear, like, you always were pulling your feet out of the mud during that season in your business because you knew where you were walking to, maybe running to sometimes, and maybe like baby steps sometimes, you know, but at the end of the day, you knew where you wanted to go. And I love that, you know, you say, like, you're yellow, because I think a lot of people do think that it takes a certain person, and it takes like a certain type of personality, and it takes, you know, somebody who's super outgoing or has, you know, this boldness to them, like, all the time or whatever. But I think at the end of the day, like, God uses this business to shape us. And I know that I'm not, like, when I joined this business, I was not yellow. Like, I was not yellow, but I had to learn how to become yellow. Like, and it's not that the core of who I am changed, but what happened was is he molded me and to be able to touch more people, right? Because something that somebody said to me one time was, if you only treat the people like you want to be treated, right? This golden rule of you treat others how you want to be treated. Like if you do that in your business and you lead people that way, you're really only effectively leading 25% of people, because that's only how many people think like you. And so if you can't adjust and think, and really when you're going through those tough times, I think it's super like important to be vulnerable with your team and open about it and what you're going through so that they don't feel alone, so they don't feel like they're the only ones going through it. So let me ask you this, and this might be like a personal question, but with you having Sherry Lynn in the business and her being such like a public figure, I guess, in the business, what battles did you kind of have to face, and you touch on it a little bit, maybe of just, is this really for me or is this only for her? But really, where have you grown in your life, like personally, through that? Because I think comparison is very real to everybody. And obviously it's way more real to you because it's somebody who's you're related to, you see at holidays, your husbands are brothers. So like, I'm sure they're talking and all that stuff. So how did you learn truly how to be Stacey and not try to be Stacey trying to be Sherry Lynn? Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think, man, Pam said something awesome tonight on the Show Me the Money call where she said, my mom told me to be inspired by others and not jealous of them. And I think that's really powerful. That's a really powerful statement. So anyway, it just made me think of that. But just with taking that, I mean, honestly, probably my husband is one of the people who he's like, be in it for the long haul, Stacey. Be in it for the long haul because you can do long haul. You can. So like, I think that was a big thing of just being me, but then also learning like more so what I had to do than what you're asking is do the things she was doing and not try to recreate it, thinking I had to do it a different way. There was a little bit of me that felt like, I have to do this my own way so I can prove this is who I am, kind of thing, instead of going, these things are really working, get over yourself and do some of the things she's doing, if that makes sense at all. Because I was trying to like almost prove myself, like, going ambassador would prove that I am worthy of this too, or something like that. And that mindset had to change a lot. That didn't validate who I am. It confirmed who I was. Does that make sense? That promotion
I love that.
To go from there. Yeah.
I love that. And I think it's so important too, just to recognize that like you said, Pam said, you have to be inspired by other people, but it can't be something to where like, I know for me, after I went triple, it took me 1.5 years to go pres after that. And one of the things that I think happened was I had to learn how to not worship the title. Mm-hmm. And, because if I did, he wasn't going to give it to me. And so he didn't give it to me because, of those things. And so I think it's important to understand, your worth outside of what the title is, and that your sense of self-worth is coming from your ability to say yes every single day for yourself, and really doing that. And I think once people, and once I figured that out, so much shifted for me in the business that I didn't have to worry about, okay, like this is something that I am doing for myself, not to prove who I am to anybody else, but to me. Like I want to do this because I told myself I was going to do this, not because anybody else needs to see me do this.
Right.
So I love that. Okay. So you said you guys do 5 things every single day. What do those things look like for you? And what does your day look like? I know you're a mom of like 2 older girls, right? Mm-hmm. Okay. And they're in activities, they're in the busy season. And it's funny, our pastor was talking about being grateful in the season that you're in this weekend. And it was like, yeah, but one of the quotes I saw somebody say on Mother's Day, it was like, we can't wait for our kids to start walking and talking. And then when they do, we're like, sit down and shut up. Right. Because we're, but in every season, there's just a busyness to it. Right. There's just, it's going to be different. There's a different sense of heart. There's a different sense of, the structure and all that. So how do you kind of fit that in your day? And what are those 5 things that you feel like, before I lay my head on the pillow, this is what has to get done?
Yeah. Sure, I love it. You know, I'm laughing as you say that because I always think it's not easier, whatever season you're in, it's just different. The heart, it just looks different. And so, yeah, it's so true. Yeah, we have fun. I actually homeschool my girls 2 days a week too. So they go to university model school, so they go to school 3 days of the week and they're home with me 2 days of the week, and the teacher gives me the work to do. So what I look at what if I would tell you my core 5 things I'm going to do every day. One of the major things is self-development. I can't, because I'm so affected by people's opinions and people's comments and whatever it is, if somebody's down, I have the tendency to just jump in their hole with them. Okay, so I'm like, you have to do self-development to be effective in this business. You have to keep growing. Every new rank you want to go to takes you to a new place of growth. If you want to get to the next place. And that's going to look different in each stage too. And so self-development is just key. You got to fill up, you got to put in the goods, so the goods coming out. Otherwise, I don't know what's going to come out. So like tears, yelling, I don't know what. I give up, I'm going back to bed. I don't know. So self-development, and then posting. I just think at the click of your fingers, who you're available to, what you can do, that's a sign. I'm sure you've all heard this over and over again, but that's just flipping your sign every day. It's open. My store is open. You're welcome to come. And it's open every day. So I post every day. It's always a mixture. I think it's good that when you're posting, you're putting in some of yourself along with the business. People want to know about you. They didn't get on Facebook necessarily to buy something, but they can be inspired by you, inspired by your story. And so making yourself real, on social media while you're posting is so powerful. So when I'm saying posting, I post in my stories, I talk in my stories, and I'm, posting 2 platforms, Instagram and Facebook is kind of where I do my stuff. And so 2 to 3 posts a day. One's just me, and then the other 2 product and business, kind of right there, or 2 times a day and mix those in. And then follow up. Fortune is in the follow up. So seriously, we have an awesome system that someone on my team taught, and I grabbed onto it and I love it. So I can tell you about our follow-up system, how we do it, because we're messaging every day. So asking is one of those key 5 things. Ask. Just put itself out there. Everybody wants an invitation, right? Like, I hate it when I see my friends went to the movies, even though I couldn't go and they didn't invite me. Like, I just wanted to be invited. And so I learned that early on. Actually, I didn't ask a friend to join me in the business. And she ended up joining another friend of mine. She was like my college roommate. And she's like, Stacey, you never asked me. Like, she felt unwanted by me because I didn't ask. And that was like a light bulb aha moment for me. I'm like, okay, you just got to ask people. Like, even if they don't want it, even if they think they don't want it, they still want to be included and invited. So, but follow up. With our follow up, it's a 2-day follow up. So today is Tuesday. Everybody I talked to on Sunday about either hosting a post for me or getting a product or becoming a DT, I'll go back to my messenger and my texts, and I'll go to everybody I talked to on Sunday and I send them a follow up message like, putting in an order today. Do you want me to add yours? Or, we're putting in entries for our drawing on Host to Post. Just wanted to make sure I got yours in there. Were you able to post for me? What other questions do you have for being a DT? So follow up, Fortune's in the follow up. So we got self-development, posting, asking, following up, and then growing your market is just really key. So I said that earlier. I got pretty far on my warm market, but I missed a big thing of growing my market daily. And so growing market on social media, meeting people and adding them on social media, that to me actually is my bread and butter. When I meet people in person and add them on social media, that's where I get the most bang for my buck personally. But those are the 5 things.
Now, how long do you think, like, numbers wise, like how many asks? I love that, asking instead of saying messaging. But how many, are you getting out a day? Is it a number? Is it kind of like, okay, I feel like, I've done that job, or is it like a specific number? How many people are you adding? And how long does that really take you to get done if you're sitting there and just focusing?
Right. So when
minus the self-development, because that's probably scattered throughout your day a little bit.
Sure. So we'll do 30 minutes of working in the morning on our 3 power hours that we do, 3 early morning power hours a week. So besides this, we'll listen to self-development while we're doing the tasks. So that's a 30-minute of like, boom, right there. And then outside of that, I would say, I mean, at this point, I spend probably 3 to 4 hours working my business daily. You know what I mean? If I'm really honest, answering questions, responding back, because part of that is to team and a little bit of customer service too for those customers that are in there. But you know, the big thing that was really life-changing for my business was doing host to post. So if you're not doing host to post, guys, I would pull a John Maxwell on you right now where he goes, I'm John and I'm your friend, before he tells you something that you really need to hear. So I'm Stacey and I'm your friend. And if you're not doing host to post, you're really, really, really missing out. So with that, getting up 10 host to posts a day, if you can get, that's not 10 asks, and everybody's number is going to look different that way. But getting 10 host to posts up a day, you will reap the benefit of that. That's always my goal.
I love that. And so during that 30 minutes though, like, do you feel like you can get the majority of the adding to your network, that messaging, like for those host to post, the, you know, maybe scheduling a couple posts, like, do you feel like you can get the bulk of that work done? Because like you said, a lot of that time is spent replying, but that's like not necessarily you're going to be sitting down. That's like when you're waiting in the carpool line, or that's when, you know, I mean, it's like here and there, voice memos, this, I need to check in with this person, those type of things. That's kind of going to be scattered throughout your day. But like during that time, just for people who maybe are, you know, trying to go Ruby or going Diamond, like, do you feel like you spent 3 to 4 hours getting that stuff done when you were first getting started or going?
Mm-mm. No, when I first got started, I mean, it was 30 minutes to an hour before I went to bed at night, because that's the only time I had. But I made sure I did it. Just with what I was doing. And I love that you're saying that too, because it just mixes in my life. For me, I try to get places a little bit earlier. Like if I'm going to pick up my girls, I'm generally late too. I love that you said that. But so I try to get to places on time so that I can be my typical 10 to 20 minutes late wherever I go. But I'll sit in my car and just make sure, okay, I answered all the questions right now, or I sent these messages out. But what's key for me, you know, as a leader, if I could talk to some of the leaders on here, you know, when you're getting on an airplane, they tell you got to put the mask on yourself, then on your child first, which our natural instinct would be put it on our child first, then on us, but us first. And so I spend 30 minutes working my business without replying to anybody on my team. I put a timer and I'm like, I'm going to get back and answer all their questions, because I'm like squirrel, like, and nothing gets done. So one of my favorite things to do is to set a timer. So I'll say 10 minutes, we're going to do this. I don't reply. I don't message back. I only am sending out a message. Boom, 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 boom. And if you have text replacement or an app called Wordboard, you can get out a ton in that amount of time. So that's what I do. So literally I can do 10 minutes of adding people to my network, 10 minutes of messaging for host to post. I like to do a post for host to post and do a giveaway. And then I just message the people who comment on the post. That lets me get a lot out. And then follow up. So I do spend that time following up, going back to those 2 days and making sure I can pretty much message everybody with my text replacement and Wordboard pretty quick. So yeah, in those 30 to 45 minutes, you can do so much if you're focused. And that's where I love my timer. It's like, okay, no, I'm not going to answer that question until the timer goes off, you know, and make sure it's in there. Because you can get caught up in a conversation with somebody for like 30 minutes to an hour and it wasn't productive. And so if you're planting that seed first, you can come back to that conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I love that. Somebody asked, do you think that you have better luck sending messages during like certain hours? Or do you feel like wherever you send them, people will get back to you and they get back to you?
I can't stress about times because every day looks so different for me. I'm sure there is something that works with that. But for me, it's like, this is where I am now, you know, try not to hit a curb. I voice memo a lot while I'm driving. Yeah.
No, I think that's true. I mean, for me, I think if I'm like, oh, well, I won't send them out now, like I intend to send them out later because I'm like, oh, well, maybe more people will respond. Like they just don't get out. If I'm being honest, those messages just don't get out. So I will just do it whenever I can, and whenever I have the time. I don't know if my internet is going out or if it's just slow for everybody, but I don't know if it is. Just everybody bear with me. I don't know what's going on with my internet, but so the next question I want to ask you is, when you were going through that time when you didn't have people, you felt like you said you felt very alone in the business. What was something that was important, like that you would tell somebody on your team now who's going through maybe something similar, where they're like, I'm building dead boxes, or I really want to promote, but nobody on my team is like I just feel like nobody's working. Like, what is something that you kind of always go back to from your own experience?
Mm-hmm. For me, what has been really great is getting to things live. So we do, Sherry's house was an hour away, but she does a training every month at her house. And so when I didn't have anybody show up at my house, because we would live stream it at my house when I didn't have anybody show up, I would drive to Sherry's so I could be around people, even when I didn't want to. Definitely there was times I didn't want to. And reach up, right? Just reach up, because there's somebody above you that will spend some time with you. And it wasn't so much like the victim's mentality, like, Sherry, I'm having a really hard time today, or da-da-da-da-da. It was just like, hey, what are you doing today? I don't know, it would just naturally come out in conversation. So just reaching out and establishing some of those sideline sisters that you can be. That did help actually with me, was when we had that going, I don't know if you're on that Presidential's Going Ambassadors page, but that page was helpful to me. Just being around people that were kind of in the same space I was, getting to events live, and then, listening to things, because there's something powerful about lasting. People that last, people that go through things. If you can learn that quality of lasting, most successful people have to go through hard things to enjoy the victory, Yeah.
I was so busy typing that I was like, oh, okay. No, I think that's so true, because the more that you go through, the more you have to kind of put your handprint in and dig in and work your way back up. And also it really humbles you as well whenever you go through something, that's tough. And I'm so grateful, now for all the tough things that I went through in the business and all the challenges, just because I know, number one, I can help more people, because I'm going to relate to what they're going through. Like if I had no bumps in the road or challenges that I had to overcome, then everybody's going to look at me and I'm going to be so unrelatable. Nobody's going to be able to see anything that they can connect with me through. And Craig Rochelle always says, people would always rather follow somebody who's always real than always right. And there's just so much power in just always having that vulnerability and being real, whether that's on your post on your social media or just being real with your team, and just not coming from like complaining or whining about it, but coming from hey, I'm looking for a solution, but here's the reality of where I'm at now, but I'm looking for a solution, right? Like if somebody's coming to me and they're telling me about what they're challenged with right now, but they're open for a solution, that's never complaining. That's never complaining, as long as somebody is open to a solution. So what would you say some of the hardest times that you've had in the business are, whether that be maybe something that personally that went on that you kind of just had to push through, that was like maybe had nothing to do with the business, but you just were like, okay, I still got to show up even when this external thing, or it could be something that did happen in the business. You mentioned you had some people leave, but just that, what was that learning lesson? Like, because I think in every one of those, there's like a moment where you're just like, yep, okay, now I understand like kind of why I went through that or what I had to learn or why I had to hit my head against that same wall 17 times in order to learn the lesson you were trying to teach me. So what are some of like the biggest learning moments that you've had?
That's a really good question. Um,
And maybe you can go through like each rank, because I know like when somebody had asked me a question similar to this, and I literally had to go through like, well, in Ruby, I struggled with this. Diamond, I struggled with this. Because I feel like at each point, you know, like you said, you have to grow at each level.
yeah.
And, you know, triple was my biggest income jump, but my mindset had to grow in order to catch up with that. You know, I was making $17,000 as on my first triple diamond check. And I was like, well, my mind had to catch up before God was going to bless me with even more. And so sometimes, you know, that, I mean, now looking back, I can see something that happened at each level, you know, whether it was humility, whether it was learning how to interact with people that I had on a different level, whether that was, you know, learning just, hey, I had to toughen up just personally, you know, like I just had to get tougher. Like I just mentally had to toughen up. Or I had to learn how to balance. Like even, you know, after I went pres, my husband had a big conversation with me about, listen, we need to get the order right in our house first, you know? So there's been so many different things at each, but I know that I learned so much better through stories and hearing things. And I'm sure, you know, the lessons aren't necessarily going to be any major different than the major lessons that we all learn anyways. But I do know there is power in hearing somebody's story of how they learned that. So I don't know if you have anything that sticks out.
Yeah, absolutely. So I remember getting part of it was just toughening up, like you said. I remember after I went double diamond, I got a card in the mail that from someone I really love that just said the scripture, what does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his soul? And I just remember going, that really hurts. And is that what everybody thinks of me now that I'm doing this business and this is what I post about? And that made me want to pull back in my old self, right? Because I'm like, wait, you're questioning like my character and who I am and everything. But then it's like, what? But if you know who you are, you know, the word says that you need only to be still, the Lord will fight your battle. And I know actually they said that, use that scripture tonight, but he's our defender. And so if we know we're right with him and we're doing what he, like I would go through times like, I'm like, Lord, are you sure this is what you want me to do? I kind of need a little confirmation today because it's not feeling like I want to do this and anybody around me wants to do it and I don't know who it's profiting, you know? But I would get those confirmations. And so having to let go, literally, the word says that the fear of man is a trap, but trusting the Lord will set you free from that. And just really having to trust the Lord that this is what he placed in my hands to do, and to do well. You know, there's people in my life that would not be in my life because of this business. And so, yeah, getting that confirmation, that was hard. Getting that card, that was hard. Having one of my main leaders go, I need to do my own thing. And then having those other leaders leave. And I'm like, oh boy, this does not feel comfortable at all. But that's where I had to grow. And the reason why is because I was scared. I'm reading a book by John Maxwell right now called Leadership. It's incredible already. If you are diamond and above, that's definitely something you should be listening to, reading, whatever. But he talked about leadership is uncertainty. So what the difference between a leader and somebody who's not is that the leader will walk into uncertainty. And I think a lot of times I felt to be a good leader, I needed to know what to do to walk into uncertainty. But basically he was just saying, you just walk into uncertainty, not knowing. And so I had to learn to do that, like to not, like Stacey, you don't have to have it all perfect and figure it out to take the next step. Just take the next step. And if you fall, oh well. So that was a big shift for me. And then that one was after press. So a lot of the growth for me was presidential to ambassador, to be totally honest. A huge, huge, huge thing for me was I didn't really sell out to anything because I was scared of failing. So I felt like if I failed, it didn't really matter because I didn't quite give my all. It would appear to everybody else like I was giving my all, but I know on the inside, if this doesn't work, I'm okay because I'm still holding something back. And so that to me was probably the major thing that I had to grow in. And you know what? I didn't see the fruit of that immediately. It was just an endurance thing that had to be built in me to go, you need to keep putting yourself out there. This is what you're doing right now. Go for it. Why do you want to live your life holding back? And I did, because it was self-protection and self-preservation. And I'm so glad that the Lord has used this to walk through that with me, because I'm just different. I'm a better mom because of it. I'm a better wife because of it. I'm just, I don't mean to sound like I'm just a better person, and I'm so thankful for it. Like, that's the greatest gift. Okay, I'm gonna not get emotional.
No, I mean, I love it because it's so true. Like, I mean, the self-development that we do to grow in the business, it's not just to grow in the business, right? Because the success that we have in the business is really a reflection of the success that we have in life. And I was telling somebody about this, and I said, really successful people who have sustained success, not just success because they've been successful in one thing at one time, but sustained success. They're not just successful in one area. Like, you don't really see people who are super successful in one area. You see people who are successful in multiple areas, and it's a reflection of who they are. Like, I was telling somebody, it's like, I don't want to be a millionaire just to be a millionaire and see $1 million in the bank. I want to be a millionaire so that because I know the person that it takes to become a millionaire, right? Like, the influence that means that God can trust you with, and all of those things. So I'm super grateful that you shared all that with us, because I know it's hard, like, to share those things. It's hard to even, think back about the fact, like, all the mistakes that, I've made in the business and that you feel like you've made, but really being able to say, like, dang, it feels so far away. Even if it wasn't that long ago, it feels so far away because of how far you've come now. And that's one thing I want to remind everybody on here is, like, it's so easy to beat yourself up in this business, and you'll get on these Zooms and you're like, oh my God, like, why didn't I think of that? Or why wasn't I acting like that? Or why wasn't I doing that? But we all have to realize that the person that joined this business probably wouldn't have even gotten on a Zoom. The person that, you know what I mean? Like, for me, Stephen Furtick said this, but it's like, we're all here, right? And we are always going to have this place that we want to go. Like, even if we get close to it, we're going to have that next place that we want to go. And it's so easy to focus on where we want to go, and we should focus on that. But so often we forget about this first line of where we came from. So we're always focusing on the gap of where we are to where we want to go, but we're often forgetting about the gap from where we are to where we came from. And it doesn't mean that means that you're stagnant, but what it does mean is that you respect and you honor and you're grateful for where you came from. Like, where did you start and what all have you got through? Like, you are a tough person. Like, that is for everybody on here. Like, whatever you've gone through, like, to get to where you're at, like, you have had to go through some stuff. Like, some hard stuff. And because the fact that you are where you are now means that there is so much greater for you coming, because so many of other people would have turned around. And whenever, you think about just taking that day off or stopping or whatever the day, that doubt that creeps in is like, well, where are you going to go? And the only place you should go is to Him. And He's going to turn you right back around here. Because that's always what happens with me, is I'm like, oh my gosh, like, where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? I feel lost. But He always will turn me back. And it might not be to working my business, but it might be to a relationship that I've gained from the business. It might be to somebody, that I would have never even had the chance to call or talk to, or just be reminded of seeing their post and what that the business has done for them. So I just encourage you guys to really reflect tonight on not only where you are now and where you want to go, because that's so easy and we always do that, right? It's like, okay, well, I want to be diamond and I want to be double and I want to do this and I want to do that. But, you know, you have to remember like, dang, but I didn't even think I would get here. I didn't even think I would get to where I'm at now. Like, I didn't even think I would show up on a Zoom. I didn't even think I would stick with it for 3 months. I didn't even think that I would ever even be brave enough to start my own business. Mm-hmm. And so when you focus on that, he's going to bless you with so much more, right? Because he knows that like every single piece of what you're doing is a piece of the puzzle. And that struggle, you guys, is it's meant to be there. And it's not because he wants you to go through pain, but he wants that pain to be used for something greater. And he doesn't say that weapons aren't going to be formed, right? He doesn't say weapons aren't going to be formed. It just says weapons aren't going to prosper. Mm-hmm. And everything he's going to turn around for our good. And so I encourage you guys to remember that, like when you're going through those times, is just trusting in that. And it's so easy to say that. I know, trust me, it's so easy to say that. But if you can just hold on to that truth just for a little bit, like you said, you know, Stacey, when you were like, oh my gosh, like even when I doubted it, like I just had to like just go through the motions sometimes. Mm-hmm. But really pick myself back up. And that's one thing that I admire about what you've said is like, you didn't say like my upline this or my sideline this or my downline this. Like, it really sounds like you just picked yourself up and you just learned like how to kind of do that. Like, yeah, you had all these supporting systems, but at the end of the day, like it comes down to, do you want it or do you not? Mm-hmm. And he's always going to leave that choice up to you, you know, so that you guys can work together on that, right? Like you and him battling through that. I mean, I've had so many of those battles, tug of wars with him, it feels like, but I love that you've just kind of stuck with it. So to people that are on here, this is the last question I'll ask. If anybody has questions that they want me to ask, go ahead and put it in the comments. But what would you say, looking back, what is like one or two things that you wish you would have known, you know, that like starting, like obviously we just talked about how the importance of the journey, and you know, I'm sure part of you would say you wouldn't change anything because it's made you who you are. But if it would be a little easier, you know, what would you say to your former self?
I mean, my former self, I would definitely say, don't get so stuck on not wanting to fail that you don't even try. I think that was like the biggest thing. Mm-hmm. You know, when Kelsey's saying, do this has worked great, or one of your other leaders is saying, you know, go for it, go live, do the host to post, message somebody, ask them. Don't become paralyzed by fear of failing and it not being all right. Because I loved this statement that you can't really say the right thing to the wrong person, and you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. Like if God is I can go back to people that I'm like, God brought this person into my business. Only God could have done that. And so if you are giving the business to the Lord and continuing to work, right? The word says that God cannot be mocked. A man reaps what he sows. So if you're not sowing into your business, we can expect God to like bless it back. But just keep putting those seeds in, just every day, one little seed, one bite at a time. You know, do the next hard thing. Just do the next hard thing. You don't have to be, I loved what you said, Kelsey, because we're always looking forward. You know, if you were to go to a gym and saw somebody I don't look great in my gym outfit pretty much. But I mean, there are definitely girls in my gym that I'm like, one day, you know, but I don't go home because I don't look like them in an hour. You know, like you gotta just know next step. Just do the next step. Just do the next thing, because you are becoming that. You're becoming the best version of you. And the best thing you can do for your business is just show up. You're your own secret sauce to your business. Your growth, your steps, your leadership, your consistency is what's going to be the secret sauce to your business and your success.
I love that. And then before somebody said, advice for anyone who is struggling with their team right now.
Like as far as leading their team?
Yeah, probably. And maybe there's just like not a ton of workers.
Okay. Big thing. celebrate the little things. Okay. Everybody wants to be on a winning team. So what did you do today that was a win? Like, celebrate it, because people will be drawn to whatever you're winning. Sometimes it's, hey, you sent out some messages today. That is awesome. That's a win. You just planted seeds. Sometimes that's all we got to celebrate. Okay. Then other times it's like, I signed a little customer. It's been a bit of a dry run, like I signed, like, celebrate every win that you can celebrate, because everybody wants to be on a winning team. And so you figuring out how you're winning and then talking about that and then encouraging your people to win, do that. And you get what you brag on. That's what one of my pastors used to always say, you get what you brag on. So you brag on that team. You speak life into them. You just brag on them. Brag on the good things. Brag on their good qualities. I mean, everybody loves a compliment, right? Like, so just give it freely. Learn to just give it and encourage that and cheer them on and all those little wins, and you'll start seeing them come forward. So figure out ways to celebrate your team was what I would say. And those who are working, even if it doesn't seem like a lot, like, oh my gosh, I saw that post. It was awesome. Okay. There's times when I've done that. So don't, like, no joke, done that, because that's all I had to celebrate, but find something to celebrate in your team.
I love that. I love that. Okay. And then tell us, what is one thing on your dream board now?
Oh, one thing on my dream board now. Okay, honestly, we want to go to language school, our family. We want to go learn Spanish together. And so that is a dream board thing that is going to take a little bit of time to be able to get to do that. But that's
so is that like in a different country?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah, Costa Rica, go there for 3 months and learn a language and get to do that.
Oh my gosh, that's so fun. I always love asking that question because it just forces me to kind of like dream bigger and stuff. And that's such an awesome thing to do. Well, thank you seriously so much. We sincerely appreciate it. And I know that you've, like, there were so many takeaways for me, like, and I love learning from different people. So I so appreciate you taking the time to spend with us tonight. And I know everybody else does too. Congrats again on Ambassador. So awesome.
Thanks for having me on. I feel like I'm like over here typing in some of the things you're saying too. So
No. Okay. Bye guys. Thanks for hopping on.